Habits are not conscious decisions that you make every day. They are patterns that your nervous system learns, and it plays them out when things feel uncertain in your business. And today, I want to show you how it plays out in real business, and how founders can restrain from letting these habits and these mechanisms ruin their lives and their businesses. You're listening to The Functional Founder with Themi Sturgianis, a podcast for owner-operators ready to build high-performance teams, handle growth with confidence, and scale without burning out. I want to tell you a story about a founder I coached. He had good people, he paid them well, he delegated properly, but every time the pressure hit, his sales slowed, his targets started being missed, and growth stalled for his business. He did the same thing. He took back control of the whole process. Not because he didn't trust his team, but because he was trying to regain control of his business. And this habit quietly became the biggest thing holding his business back. A lot of what we understand today about habits is about the neuroscience research has been made, and it has been made widely accessible by Huberman or the likes of Huberman, where behaviors explained how the nervous system reacts under pressure, which is an interesting concept. And I want to share this with you because I think it'll make a difference in most founders' lives. It certainly has made a difference in my client's life and in mine. And the key idea is this: habits are not conscious decisions that you make every day. They are patterns that your nervous system learns, and it plays them out when things feel uncertain in your business. And today, I want to show you how it plays out in real business, and how founders can restrain from letting these habits and these mechanisms ruin their lives and their businesses. So this founder had done everything right. He hired the right people. He got the right sales leaders in place. He had good operational leaders, and people, they were actually paid for outcomes. So when things were calm and systems were followed and things worked, but when the pressure mounted, that's when sales dipped. That's when forecasts were missed, and that's when growth of the business slowed down. And without consciously deciding, the owner stepped back in. He joined sales calls, he rewrote proposals, he followed up with clients himself, he made decisions that others were meant to take. And that wasn't necessary to undermine anyone, but to help, to stabilize things, to protect the business. And in short, it worked. But things did move again, decisions were made again, and he did feel useful. But over time, something else happened. His team hesitated, and ownership absolutely softened, and then created people to wait for him. So people were waiting for him, and then that affected the business. Business started stagnating, and the business couldn't scale. It stalled, and he couldn't understand why this was happening, specifically after he knew that this habit would creep up every now and again. So he was very aware of the issue that he constantly did, but he couldn't change it. He knew better, but he just couldn't do anything about it. So one day he said something that really mattered. I hate to do this. I pay people so well, and they don't take ownership. And under pressure, I seem to take all those things back again, that whole sales process. He felt frustrated and probably embarrassed too, not because anyone called him out, but because it showed him up. He knew this behavior was costing the business, and he couldn't seem to stop it. So this is what's interesting about the neuroscience. A habit is a learned neural circuit, and under pressure, the nervous system does something very predictable. It narrows behavior. When pressure increases, the brain starts doing familiar actions that create immediate relief. And this is the core principle explained in the neuroscience that was popular by people like Huberman. The nervous system doesn't care about long-term leverage or long-term outcome. It cares about short-term certainty. And for this founder, taking back the work created immediate relief. And I know for my business, I do the same. Growing LabWorks has been a challenge over the last few years. And the only way that I can truly grow this business is by making sure that my people take ownership and that I don't take the work back. So what happened for this founder? Sales moved, things progressed, anxiety dropped. So his nervous system learned when things feel unstable, step in. Pressure didn't create the habit. Pressure reinforced the habit. So the important thing is this. He was fully aware of the habit. He could see it happening in front of him, but awareness didn't stop it. And I was always under the impression that awareness could be the first big step to conquering a habit, but it's probably not the most important step. So awareness doesn't stop problems, and neuroscience explains why. Awareness happens in the conscious brain, but habits live very deep. And knowing a behavior is unhelpful if it doesn't get overridden or it doesn't have a retrained circuit. And I use the analogy of if you were to take your car and you're driving it over a rugby field or a sports field that's just had rain, you're going to make tracks. And the more you drive over those same tracks, what's going to happen to those tracks? They're going to deepen. So trained circuits are very difficult to untrain. Insights without behavioral replacement leaves all these habits intact. That's why trying harder didn't work. And often we talk about white knuckling. Let's just white knuckle. We're going to have the discipline. We're going to change things. That doesn't always work. And this wasn't a leadership issue in his case. It was a nervous response issue. And this is where things changed. We stopped talking about discipline. We spoke about developing trust. We worked directly with the habit. First, by visualizing the pause, not the success. Visualizing the pause is important because when people hear visualizing, they think immediately about outcomes. And that's not what science supports. The neuroscience shows that brief process-focused visualization can prime action. So instead of visualizing, I'm going to be a better leader, he rehearsed one thing, not grabbing the work back. Before pressure moments, he took 20 seconds and visualized. Okay, the request is coming in. I have the urge to step in and I'm visualizing myself pausing. It's like a quiet, deliberate pause. Just that. The request is coming in, the urge to step in, and a quiet, deliberate pause. And this mattered because the hardest moment for him was that specific impulse. Visualizing the pause reduced the friction. And secondly, bracketing where he steps in. Another key principle is bracketing. The nervous system resists behaviors that feels endless. Leadership feels endless to founders. So we created clear boundaries. There were defined situations where he would step in and defined situations where he would not step in. Sales calls were owned by sales. Operations issues were owned with operations. No gray area. Clear start, clear stop. This reduced internal conflict. Bounded efforts gets repeated. Unbounded efforts gets avoided. A good example in my business recently was we had a client complaint, and justifiably we did mess up and there were areas that we could have fixed. That not being said, a very, very difficult client. And this client was probably being unreasonable too, threatened to take us to social media and not really working through the correct processes to try and resolve conflict. And there was my urge to step in again. I had all these fears about social media blowing up and my business collapsing and all the hard work that we've been working on in the last couple of years going down the drain. But here's the thing. It's an operational issue and operations needs to step in. We've got the right people in place. So how do we put those boundaries in place that I don't have to step in as the owner the whole time? So thirdly is replacing control with a repeatable action. Finally, we replaced the habit. We didn't tell him to stop intervening. We gave him a safe alternative. I'll say that again. We didn't tell him to stop intervening. We just gave him a healthy and safer alternative. So when pressure hit, instead of taking back the work, we asked one question. So the same category of question every time. What's your plan here? Or what do you need from me that I'm not doing? Or what decision are you recommending? Same trigger, but different responses. Repeated often enough, these neural circuit pathways start strengthening. So you get what I say when these things do come up for business owners, is that the immediate reaction wanting to take over can sometimes be changed if we look at our neural circuit pathways and what the science says. So the habit didn't disappear overnight, to be honest, but it lost strength. Ownership returned and people stepped up. Sales conversations stayed where they belonged. And growth didn't accelerate because you worked harder. It accelerated because he stopped rescuing the system, not because he changed who he was. So he changed what he repeated under pressure, consistently changing it all the time. And here's the takeaway. And founders don't take control because they don't trust their teams. They do it because their nervous system is chasing relief. That's not failure. That's biology. And biology is good news because what was trained, it can be trained differently. I love that. I love the fact that we can affect change in our business by reframing things a bit differently. If you keep stepping back under pressure, don't ask what's wrong with you. Ask, what is your nervous system saying and what has it been practicing? And that's where real change starts. So, folks, when we do end up in a situation where we wanting to take control of areas in our business, let's ask where the neural system is playing up for us. And let's affect change that way and affect long-lasting change in our business, not short-term change. Thank you for joining the Functional Founder. This podcast grows through you, our founder community. Please share this with someone who needs it and click on the subscribe button. That way, more people can join us.